I'm Kate.
I'm Elle.
We are down to Faye, and we're kicking off a month of K.F. Breene books with the Demon Days Vampire Nights series.
There are 11 books in this series with multiple main characters and POVs that we just can't wait to get into.
It is such an underrated, completed series. Like, I never see people talking about it, and it's a world that you can really fall into. It's paranormal, urban fantasy, but very well developed and well written world building and lore. Character arcs, action, politics. There's a complex magic system. It's genuinely funny, and the characters, you become really attached to them.
It's funny. It's a really good storyline that you can understand without it's not so difficult that you can't just fall into it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember when the series came out. This might be another one that's been out for a little bit, and that's why people haven't found
Yeah, it
it because
predates Book Talk.
everybody's looking for the newest series. And some of these others are still real good.
I know. I hope that that's what we're doing in life, or we're reminding people about these series that kind of missed their chance on Book Talk.
Yeah,
Because
but
there
they're
are
so
some really
good.
great series like this, and Crossbreed, and Lords of the Underworld, and Black Dagger. They're really good urban fantasies.
I mean, we're literally talking about it right now because I kept re-listening to it and I was like, oh my God, there's so many good series by KF Breene. We should just talk about it all month.
I know. Well, we kept listing all the ones we wanted to talk about, and it's like KF Breene, C.N. Crawford. They're really underrated. Not underrated because they're bestsellers.
Yeah, they're not getting the limelight right now because of all the new stuff on Book Talk, and they should. So we're here to make sure they get their chance. This series, again, has 11 books. The first 3 books focus on one couple, and then the books that are like 4 to 6 are about a mage couple. Books 7 to 8 have Fae and shifters. And then we circle back to the original FMC for the most part in books 9 and 11, but the same characters pop up throughout all of the books. They just have a different focus for some of them. And then all the stories kind of merge, come back together for the final few books.
But they do so in a natural way. It's not just throwing everyone together.
Yeah.
It's it builds up, and there's a thread, there's a storyline that goes through all the books, but then you're also focusing just on that couple and what they're going through. But then you see the characters pop up that we've already met, and 11 books sounds daunting. I mean, I'm the kind of person where if I find a completed series and the more books, the better.
Yeah.
The same if you find a show you like and you're like, holy shit, there's 7 seasons.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's like Crossbreed or Black Dagger, where you can dip in and dip out without losing that thread. And those characters that you meet along the way, they resurface in other books. So it's not oh, I have to sit down and read all 11 books. You can, and you should. And then you can go back and read the ones that were your favorites. With us, it's obviously Reagan.
Obviously.
But you don't, you can read and stop and pick up other books that you want to read that have newer things that come out. Cause that's what I've been doing. I have worlds that I really love, that it's kind of going home or revisiting old friends that are just kind of there when you need something. Cause you can't always be trying to keep up with what Book Talk is reading.
Yeah, they're good.
You can have your comfort series.
They're a pick me up, and they're comfortable. You're I love this world. I know it. I love the vibes when I'm reading it. But also I love that there's so many books, because if you really like a series, the more books there are, it doesn't have to end. You kind of get to continue to enjoy it longer, which is so fun.
And all the side characters that you meet and you're like, I wonder what's going on with them. You find out because they get their own book.
I laugh out loud reading this series so often. Even I was listening to it before, on my way here to come record, and I just crack myself up. I must look crazy to people that are driving past me.
Reagan is so fucking funny.
It's literally Reagan antagonizing Penny, and we'll get into it. But every time, Penny is so awkward and I'm unprepared, and it's so funny. Gosh, I'm so excited to talk about this. Before we get into these characters, let's talk about the world building and the lore itself.
Well, there's a lot of world building and lore for something that there is romance, but it's a really good balance of world building, lore, romance, and smut.
It's storytelling, and then the romance is part of it, because romance is part of everybody's life at some point. So
is it?
Okay.
It's part of some of our lives.
Some of us are more single than others, but you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're just reading smut. You're reading a fun story that also has sexy time in it.
But that also has its place. I love a little smutty palette cleanser, and there are other series that we're going to talk about that are a little more romance forward,
Yeah.
but this one is definitely more character driven, I would say.
Which is a fun thing about KF Breene because some of these other smutty series are also hers. So, like,
And they are sexy.
the
Oh
sex
my
is
god.
very sexy in
Especially the
those.
one we're talking about next week.
Yeah, I mean, this series has sexy sex too, but this, it's a different, like, very, like, it's big storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to say that. The story is set against the backdrop of modern day New Orleans. It unfolds across three intertwined realms. We have the human realm, which they call the Brink.
Clearly named after the Disney movie.
Then we have the elf governed realm, which they just call the realm. That's the main, like, magical realm. And then the shadowy underworld of demons.
And humans don't know that the magical world exists. And the magical world, they're like, the humans don't walk around calling themselves like they're in the brink,
Yeah.
but the magical world calls the human realm brink.
Yeah. The Brink is, it's so, every time I say that or, like, read it, I think of that Disney movie.
Yes. With
It's
the
like
floppy
really
haired
old.
guy who we were all in love with.
It's literally
From
like the
Lizzie
Disney movie
McGuire.
Brink about, like, skateboarders or something. Not related to this at all. I'm not sure why they've chosen the word brink. It's funny though.
I guess like on the brink.
Maybe. But yeah, that's so, like, the normal human world
They're
is
like
the
on the
brink.
brink of the magical world.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's fair. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah. Throughout, the elves reign supreme as the de facto authority, policing supernaturals with the help of fae agents in the realm, which is again like the more magical world. And then they use the help of shifter operatives in the brink.
There are also branches of magical law enforcement, MLE, throughout the brink, policing the magical creatures, especially the vampires.
The vampires.
And although the humans don't know about the magical world, there are a few people in human law enforcement in each city that will reach out to the local MLE office for help when there's a case that involves magic. And what is this making me think of? What's another series?
I mean, I'm thinking of Men in Black.
I mean, Men in Black, obviously.
MIB.
And one of the things I love about this series, other than the other things I've said I love about the series, but it's KF Breen's ability to layer familiar supernatural tropes over a very detailed magical and political infrastructure. So you get like a lot of politics and dynamics between the different species, but then you get the romance and there's classic supernatural tropes about like the vampires, but then there's like newer elements that you would not expect involving unicorns. So it's secrets.
They're so fun.
It's just very unique.
It's easy to understand though. Like, it's not like so complicated that you're like, wait, what? How does
It's not
this
like
happen?
the beginning of Crescent City, which we loved.
Or there's a lot at once.
But yeah, it took a while to understand.
But it's good because just as it's being explained to you, it's logical and you're like, yeah, okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, this is very logical.
For humans that don't know about the supernatural world, everything is very intertwined. Like the supernatural world, like none of this is new. Everything's very well built in with the way they govern themselves. So it all just sounds like, oh yeah, okay, naturally, whatever. Each supernatural species has its own hierarchies and codes that they live by. So for example, the vampires are monitored and guided by elders. The mages have a mage guild. And then the shifters are organized in packs, and you've got alphas that kind of control each section, like alphas over the continent, like the North American alpha, or this, over a certain region in a certain country.
Kind of like True Blood, how they had like the sheriffs and they had for each, what were they called? They had like the king and queen of like different states, like of Mississippi, the queen of Mississippi.
Kingdoms, but yeah, it wasn't region. What was it? Sheriff of, was it district?
Maybe.
No.
But yeah, it reminds me of that, like how it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, so there is like a structure to it already.
And our FMC is Reagan Somerset, a blonde sword-wielding bounty hunter for the New Orleans MLE, Magical Law Enforcement.
Quite often her eyebrows have also been burned off.
It's like her trademark, but it's a symbol like she's resilient and she's like she has an unorthodox path.
And
it's fucking funny.
Love Reagan because she's so unbothered. Like
she doesn't care. Like that, I would be mortified without eyebrows. I would hide my face, and she's just like,
whatever. Literally, I think the second time she runs into the MMC, he's like, "What happened to your eyebrows? You're hideous." And she's like, "Whatever."
Yeah, she
Like,
doesn't
it
care.
just it makes it so much funnier and,
Mhm.
like, easygoing because she's very comfortable and confident in who she is,
Right.
and she's not really worried about her looks. Like, she may be beautiful, she may be fit, it doesn't affect her one way or the
Mhm.
other. I mean, she's just I think she has to be one of my favorite book characters of all time.
Yeah, me too.
Again, she's strong and she's funny. Obviously, she's a badass, but it's the fact it's not that she's sassy so much as she says what she's thinking, and she doesn't take herself too seriously. It's just kind of all out there, and it's hilarious.
Well, even though she doesn't take herself seriously, she's this like strong badass in leather pants. She does have moments of vulnerability about her identity, especially where she belongs. So a lot of her arc is struggling with who she is, where she comes from, and forging her own destiny, which is really the broader theme for the whole series because all the FMCs that we're going to meet are struggling with who they are, where they're going to fit in, and kind of like I guess their destiny.
I mean, these are big, important vulnerabilities for any character, and I think it makes it more relatable to all readers because it's not focused on their looks. You
Mhm.
know, like how a character looks, it's good to know so I can visualize them and maybe they use it like for something to further their plot, but Reagan's insecurities and vulnerabilities have nothing to do with how she looks.
Right.
You know, like it's so much more than that, which makes it more interesting to read because it's not a focus, like a
It's less
focal point.
supernat or not supernatural. It's very supernatural, superficial. It's less superficial.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much deeper than all of that. I one of the reasons that I love Reagan is because nothing seems to scare her either. She's definitely an adrenaline junkie.
She looks at everything with a sense of humor.
Oh my gosh,
Like even when bad things happen, she can find a way to laugh about it, which is how we should all be going through life. Like it's just very funny.
the things that should scare her or make her pause, she is the person that will run like headfirst into danger. And not because she just like wants the adrenaline. She just it doesn't intimidate her. She's like, "Ooh,
Mhm.
this will be fun." We're not the same person. That's
And
why I
meanwhile,
love to read it.
Penny is always in the background being like, "What?"
Yeah, the one of the characters we meet later, Penny, is exactly me. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know about that. Should we be doing this?" And Reagan's already like dragged her into the middle
Yeah.
of something awful. Gosh, what was that one goblin? That like
Oh
gremlin with the red
yeah.
hat, like
Uh-huh.
just dragging Penny through it.
Is that where we keep trying to remember when we're talking about other books about
Yeah,
the red hat?
what it's actually called.
Okay. It was a goblin.
Yeah, it's like the red goblin. It's like
Uh,
the one that like he dips his
the
red
hat.
cap. He's a red
Yeah.
cap. He dips his cap in blood. It's like so gross and
There's
so
so much
weird.
like interesting mythology that's been incorporated because like obviously that's like a real myth,
Mhm.
the red caps.
It has to and I think a lot of stories, it's a fae. It's like a fae
Mhm.
type creature. Oh gosh, I just love this. I get so
I
excited
know.
talking about all the different aspects to it. But Reagan's lack of fear, is part of what has led her to be a bounty hunter for the MLE office.
But she's also not like other girls or we wouldn't be reading about her.
Exactly. Because she's hiding from her father, Reagan is hiding her magical heritage from the rest of the magical world as well.
Mhm.
Since she won't register with the Mage Guild, just like Raven in the Crossbreed series, she isn't able to get legitimate work in the magical world. So like she works for the magical law enforcement, but she can't get like full-time work or benefits
Okay.
because she would have to disclose what her magic is and she doesn't want to do that. So that's why she's doing basically like consultant work as a bounty hunter. She's taking jobs where she can. And of course the shifters in the area, they know that she smells different, but they don't know what her magic is, and
The
so
shifters are like mall cop energy, like, they take their jobs
ugh,
very seriously.
but they also won't leave her alone because she won't tell anybody what she's like, "Why are you bothering me?" And they're like, "What
Mhm.
are you?" And she's like, "Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Just stay in your
Rude.
lane." All of this is because Reagan's father is Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Lucifer, king of the underworld.
Lucifer had been trying for an heir for millennia, but the heirs were never able to survive in the underworld. Reagan's mother, who passed away 5 years before the story begins, was a unique mage who was descended from a line that contained the blood of the gods. And the book I'm reading right now, Nocticadia, and that is by Carrie Lake, who also wrote Anathema. that you read.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so going into it, I thought it was gonna be supernatural, but there's a point when it said blood of the gods, it made me think of this. She's reading a romance book and she's describing it, and so they're like scientists, and she's naming these test subjects, these moths, and she's like, "Well, I'm reading something right now, and they have the names Achilles and Patro," and I was like, "Oh my god, she's reading Blood of Hercules." Like, I think that
Ooh,
was like a little, which is another book by another author, and I was like, "Oh my god, am I reading the same book
what a little
as the
shout out.
FMC in a book?" Sorry, that was very side tangent.
But when you hear, like, Blood of the
Yeah, I was
Gods,
like,
you're
"Oh
like, "This"
my god, fun." Yeah.
because it seems like it's so big.
Mhm.
Well, fortunately, because her mother has such a unique heritage, it is exactly what was needed to be able to produce an heir with Lucifer. Like, all the right things had to come together for this to work,
But he
for
didn't,
Reagan to be
like,
born.
seek her out. It was just like you said, a perfect storm, and
Yeah.
they actually were a love match.
Yeah, Lucifer does not know that she exists, but because he's always wanted an heir, he would clearly be very happy if he was to find out about her, but Reagan doesn't know in what context. Like, Lucifer's not a bad guy, but there's no telling.
And he's sexy.
He's so sexy. There's no telling. It makes me think of side note, makes me think of Lucifer
The
and
show?
Sabrina. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that
okay.
guy. That's like
That's Luke Cook. He is so fucking funny on
that's who I
TikTok.
visualize when I think of
He's
Lucifer.
the one that posted a TikTok that was like, "Guys, I just learned that sometimes when women fart, it rolls to the front." And he's so funny.
I mean, it's just like, now it's a whole tangent, but like in later books, we meet Lucifer and he apparently has the same personality as Reagan. And since we've talked about how funny and crazy Reagan
Mhm.
is, it's like they're the perfect storm together. They're hilarious.
Yeah, she kind of like he doesn't set out to have a relationship that would be like a fun, like father daughter relationship, but then she kind of like grows on him.
I think it's because they're so similar. He doesn't know what to expect.
Hmm.
So, like, when Reagan's mother meets Lucifer, they just have a love affair. And then it was never meant to produce a child. It wasn't like he was trying to, like, create an heir. She just, all of it, all the magic happened to work together so that she was born.
Hmm. Well, when her mother realized that she was pregnant, she cut off that love affair and began doing everything she could to teach her daughter about magic and to teach her to fight to protect herself.
Yeah, because again, Lucifer was not a bad guy, but I think that her mom probably just didn't want her child to be used,
Yes, because
which
he
is
did
what would
have he was
happen.
very driven to have an heir.
Yeah. And I mean, again, Lucifer is not a bad guy, but he is the king of the underworld. So there is no telling in what context, if he had another child, what he would do with that. Because his
I do
previous,
love visiting the underworld, by
I
the
know
way.
the
That's,
underworld
like, some of
is,
my favorite.
it shows their quirky, crazy
Because
personalities.
what are there's, like, different sections or something
He,
where there's, like, one where, like, you go and everyone gets horny?
he has let the demons, like, when they have their own little sects, like SECTS, I'm not saying the right sects,
Sex.
they're allowed to, like, run it how they want. And one of the first sects that they meet, like, thinks they're a circus. Like, they love circus animals,
Mhm.
and it is like chaotic demon circus people. And it's just like, this is really trippy and creepy. Like, but they have a love sect, they have a sex
Mhm.
sect, they have, like, just, like, playing power, like battle and war. Like, there's so many different
It's
sects
just
in
so
the underworld.
fun, and there's so many layers to this series, like, she coulda just made it to where she visits the underworld, and it's like our cartoon version of the underworld, where it's, like, dark and there's fire and it's cold, but it's like she made all these different little subsections of
Yeah.
hell.
And I mean, the not all the demons are evil. Like, some of them, yes, but also some of them are just out there, like, living their lives. And it's she gives so many perspectives
Mhm.
and she makes it funny and she makes it so quirky. But yeah, so all her life Reagan has been in hiding, basically based on her mother's direction, because she's assuming bad things about her father, but
Mhm.
clearly her mother loved her father. They
Yeah.
just they don't know what would happen when Lucifer finds out about Reagan. It also is important to note that Reagan, although her mother is a mage, doesn't have the magic of a mage. She has her father's magic.
Hence why she smells different. And Reagan has spent her life learning all aspects of spell casting and the creating of spells. And she doesn't create her own spells, but she's able to use spells that other mages have created and sold, which is also a unique thing about this series.
Mhm.
I don't remember another one Or at least I'm not thinking of it, where you could buy a spell that someone else has made. Because, like, obviously, the vampires wanna have a lot of spells like
Yeah.
that, and Darius is rich, so he has a lot of good spells.
It's neat because I don't know any other series where they have, like, there's so many little details that have been thought out. So, like,
Mhm.
everybody can use spells. You don't have to be a magic user because people that create the spells literally put them in these, like, little spell casings that people carry around in their purses. Like, it makes me think of, like, the actual Pokemon, like,
Yes.
game, like, where
Yeah,
you
no,
throw the little
exactly.
plastic ball,
Yeah.
like a little rubber ball, and there's something in there. So, like, the vampires love having spells on them, but so Reagan can use the spells and she understands how to use them to do different things, but she can't really create them herself. Again, because
Mhm.
her magic is just very different. But because her magic is different and it's like Lucifer's, Lucifer is actually called the curse breaker. So her magic eats away at a lot of spells. And of course, she has hellfire.
Feyre could never. Reagan learns that she has another type of magic called glacium magic, and that is seen in the underworld, and she will need to accept and merge with her fire magic eventually.
Yeah, when we first meet Reagan, she has the fire magic, and that's what her mother was familiar with from her father and helped to train her on. As the story develops and Reagan learns more about herself, this other aspect of her magic, she doesn't know what to do with the glacium magic. And in order to like really come into her own, she'll have to find a way to merge. It's basically like ice magic. She'll have to merge the ice and the fire together
Which
and
definitely doesn't
blend
seem
it.
like it should work.
I know it's wild because the glacium magic also, whenever she uses that magic, she can um hear people's thoughts and she can levitate, and it comes with
And
multiple other things.
the hearing people's thoughts leads to a lot of funny situations,
Oh
like
my
with
god.
Roger.
Of course. I mean, you can really use your imagination with that because it goes there. And again, part of the reason the series is just so fun because as the reader, you see all these different types of magic. And as Reagan's learning more about blending and using it, or even just like the spells,
Mhm.
you as the reader get to learn about it. It makes it so interesting.
Book one, Born in Fire, begins with Reagan's hunt for a bounty. And there's a fun little cast of characters. Like there's a local shifter named Red who's always being bullied for information. And it reminds me of if you watch Buffy, there was a character, Willie the Snitch. It was a bartender for the Supernaturals that they were always like just beating the shit out of him, asking him questions.
And poor Red, like sometimes she's picking on him and sometimes he's jumpy because he just doesn't know. Sometimes she's just like, "Hey Red, what's up?" And he's like, "What do you want?" He
Yeah.
just he never knows what's coming. The doorman at this one bar that she goes to all the time, the Purple Bear, his name is Jimmy and he is a merman.
And one of our favorite recurring jokes is how concerned Reagan is with how mer people reproduce because they're super secretive. So she's always trying to like catch them in the act.
And when you ask, they get very touchy about you asking about it. It goes back to Therion when we were joking in Crescent City about like,
What that
Therion,
tail do?
what that tail do? How does this work? It's actually so fun because several books in, Reagan is a peeping Tom and she finally gets to see for herself
And
how
she's
they
talked
reproduce.
about it so much that even you as a reader, you're like, finally.
This is it.
But on this night, Reagan was told her mark would be meeting a potential buyer at the Purple Bear. Jimmy tells her at the door that tonight is not the night to be hunting this guy because higher level vampires have recently come out of the realm and they're also potentially looking for this guy, this bounty.
Reagan enters the bar anyway and notices one of those higher level vampires sitting in the last booth. She says something quietly to the bartender in an effort to test his hearing. And when he can definitely hear her, she realizes that this vampire is very old. He's
What
an
does she
elder.
say?
Well, she goes to order him a beer and I think she asks after him and she sees him like
Mm,
tilt his head,
okay.
move. And it's like a loud bar with like
Yeah. That's so
a
smart.
band going. She's like, uh oh.
But instead of intimidating her, it just increases her curiosity about what her mark might be selling. So she's like, I need to grab this guy before the elder can make a move. So she grabs her mark, runs for the door. But once she's outside, she's surrounded by the elder and some lower level vampires.
Which, side note, Reagan is really strong and she's fast, but whenever she's fighting, she's actually much faster than a human. But I think she has to be fighting to have that speed. So she's always stronger, but the speed like comes with the fighting prowess that I think
Mm-hmm.
although she's been trained, she just has naturally like more prowess. She manages to hold her own against multiple vampires, but the elder still manages to take her mark from her.
The next morning, Reagan goes to the MLE office with a chip on her shoulder because that vampire stole her mark and she is broke. She's always broke because she's not legitimate. She like can't get full-time work.
There's also a side character named Garrett
I
that
love the side characters. I love them.
you love to hate. He's somebody that like you want to smack around.
But he's also funny. Like
Yes,
they're
he is.
funny together.
He works at the MLE office. Again, that's the magical law enforcement office, and he's literally just always taunting her about her abilities.
And since she keeps her magic secret, he thinks that she's underqualified and that's why she isn't hired to work there full time. So he has like a
Oh,
swagger.
and like it just in this day, he's like, oh, another mark you missed. Like just something to like rub salt in the wound. He takes an opportunity to taunt Reagan again about how she couldn't get the job done.
And we see interactions with Garrett throughout the series.
Oh, I think my favorite and the worst is when he thinks that he saves Reagan's life one time and she's like, oh my God, I wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
But she can't tell him about her magic. So she's just seething and people find different reasons to bring it up just to like light her on fire. It's also Reagan's favorite pastime to kick down doors. I don't know why. She gets really excited about it, which is
she's
how
very good at it.
she teaches Penny about that, which is how we get some funny scenes with Penny later.
When Penny sees something.
Yeah, Penny always bursts in while they're having sex, but nobody's perfect. Anyway, Reagan kicks down the door for the captain's office because Garrett has really just gotten under her skin. She's there to vent her frustrations about the vampire stealing her mark the night before, and of course, Garrett being an ass. It turns out, after stealing her mark, the vampire stopped by the office with a request for Reagan to work on a job with the vampires.
And Reagan takes a low paying job for the day just because she needs the money. And it gives her a little time to consider the vampire's offer. Because it is like, why? You know?
There's
like
just,
it's an opportunity and it's money, but you're also like, she has a secret.
like vampires are wily. Like, why do you need me? You just took my mark last night. What do you want?
Her new mark is a witch who somehow gained enough magic to advance to mage level, but he's basically gone crazy on the power. So I kept getting confused between the witches and the mages.
Yeah, it's not perfectly explained. There's a mage that we meet later who is a little bit snobby, and she's like, they just don't have enough power. But I think the difference between a witch and a mage is magical training and then like power level. So witches like have magic, but it's usually pretty weak. So they tend to like work amongst their community, like a little coven of witches to like pool their power to be a little stronger. But generally, mages are much more powerful and trained.
Okay.
So this guy somehow magically increased his power, but he went crazy. It was too much. And his neighbors finally called the MLE office asking for help because he's just gotten out of control and dangerous.
And Reagan manages to accidentally kill the mage in her attempt to subdue him. And she discovers some interesting spells hidden in his home and learns the mage can see in the dark, which means he's probably bonded with a vampire.
Yeah, that's a problem she'll have to deal with later. Reagan can see in the dark because of her heritage, but there's no spell that enables that. In the process of securing a spell book from the mage, Reagan also burns her eyebrows off.
So, with missing eyebrows, she decides to take the vampires up on the offer and enters the realm to travel to the vampire lair. Vampires live in the brink but can't go out in daylight. And the realm has false daylight, so it's easier for the vampires to live comfortably and safely there. And it's a reason, I guess, why later on a certain vampire is very interested in charity.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Reagan enters the lair and sees the elder from the night before, Darius Durant, RMMC.
She also meets a different elder and learns that he's the most famous vampire of them all, Vlad the Impaler.
And he is gorgeous. She's
he's sexy.
He's like a 20 out of 10. She's like, it's just blows her mind how beautiful Vlad is. Darius, of course, is very beautiful and sexy, but Vlad is just on another level. After some negotiating, Reagan agrees to help the vampires with their top secret project for a lot of money. Since Reagan refuses to bond a vampire,
I would immediately be like, who's bonding me? Let's bond.
I mean, that's the other thing is like, she's probably going to be immortal, so she doesn't want to be tied to the vampires for life. And so she refuses to bond a vampire and be stuck with them more than she has to be. So she won't be told what she's helping to protect. That was the thing, like,
Mhm.
in order to make sure she keeps her secret, they wanna bond her, and she's like, "Nah." So they're like, they're gonna tell her just enough to get the job done, but not give away everything. So instead, she'll simply work on helping to discover who the thief is.
And Darius is more than 1,000 years old, and he was made by Vlad. He has brown hair and he has gorgeous honey colored eyes. And he's one of my favorite book boyfriends.
We don't know what to do with Darius when we first meet him. He starts kind of with a flat personality, and
He
then
is
it
kind of
develops.
stiff in the beginning because, like, it's like she teases the humanity back out of him.
Darius was a wealthy French noble before he was turned, and he's always been a ladies' man.
Well, and vampires do tend to lose their humanity once they're turned. So they're logical, cunning, and they're always analyzing. They also have a photographic memory and they remember everything. Do you remember that time in college? I was like flirting with that guy, and he was like, "Oh, wow, you did really good on that test." And I was like, "Yeah, I have a photogenic memory."
You even just you saying that, I'm like, "Is that wrong?"
But he just kind of like
It's
looked he
photographic.
just kind of like looked at me, and like we were both slow blinking.
Like,
Like I think about it all the fucking time.
maybe he was like me and didn't catch it and was like,
No, he
"Great."
definitely there was no date. It's like when that guy, I don't know why on a date he would be asking me my favorite dinosaur, and I was like pterodactyl. Oh, Corey's a doctor now. I still have him on Facebook.
I mean,
No more
not that I
dates.
don't like dinosaurs, but I don't think any guy has ever been like, "What's your favorite
That's
dinosaur?"
such a
Like, I don't fucking
college
know.
nerd question. What's your favorite dinosaur? I was like, I don't know. Fuck.
He's like clearly trying to
I'm
find
reading
common
Twilight
ground.
currently. Like, do you want to ask me about that?
Yeah, ask me about my favorite vampire series. It's different. Vampires require human blood, but the shifters fight them in the brink to keep them from the humans.
And I couldn't remember how they assumed the vampires were even alive.
I don't know. Like
If
it's
they
one,
couldn't drink like obviously they're drinking human blood or they would be dead right now.
yeah, because the shifters they're not the police in the human world, but they're basically trying to keep the human world from finding out
Mhm.
about the magical world and also just protect the humans in general. But I don't know. I don't know what they assume the vampires are doing, to be honest.
Well, naturally, the vampires have humans who would be like us, who volunteer to be fed from. So, out of sight of the shifters, vampires protect those chosen humans, their blood source. And I mean, we've read a lot of series that have blood source
Yeah, it reminds
trope.
me, honestly, I kind of envision True Blood again
Uh
because
huh.
it's like everybody's agreed to this. And I think, I'm
Like
sure,
mine.
depending on the
Or
vampire,
like
they probably
Vampire
pay them
Academy.
too. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what? For Darius, for some weird reason, I do kind of picture that guy that was in the Vampire Academy movie. What is that character's name that like trained her
I
and
don't know
was
if
like
I've
the
seen the movie
broody?
actually.
I literally watched it at your house.
Vampire Academy?
Yeah. I have a core memory sitting on your couch watching it.
That says a lot about me. I'll have to look
Clearly
this up
meant
offline.
more for one of us than the other.
The worst thing is that I've read that whole series. I own that whole series, and, like, maybe it's because 'cause I've read so many vampire series, I can't quite remember the, like,
She was like
storyline.
vampire nobility or yeah, it's been a long time since I read it too, but
I thought she was there protecting the vampire. I don't even know. I don't remember anymore. I'll have to that'll have to be another,
we'll have to
like,
watch it.
review sometime. Well, the vampire feeding also tends to go hand in hand with
Of
sex.
course.
So, I mean, it's very, like, it's just sexy. I
Mhm.
mean, vampires obviously probably kill humans at some point, but, like, why would they? Because they need a food source. So, like, I don't know, I think the shifters freak out too much about what the vampires are up to, but they're also very, very open about sex.
Well, there's just something about I love vampire books and vampire movies, and I don't know if it's like a taboo thing or a thrill thing of being that close to death or something like I am sustaining the guy. Like he's alive because of me. Like I'm giving him
Yeah.
life. I don't know what the psychology is behind it, but I fucking love
Well, it's gotta be
vampires.
because they're, like, beautiful and deadly. Like, the
Yes.
dichotomy is so alluring.
Except for Nosferatu.
Yeah, that was not it. That was not the one. Well, I think also, like, with the vampires, when they're younger, they have to feed more often, so, like, they're horny all the time. And, like, they just because some of the aspects of their humanity go away, they're not gonna be shy, they don't
Mhm.
care. So, like,
Yeah.
orgies all the time. It's just everything's just out there, you know?
Well, it's yeah, the older they get, the less often they need to feed, and their sexual urges decrease with age as well, so they become more focused on politics and business, so really they become more dangerous because they have, like, all these things, all these needs that fall away, and they can really just, like, hone in.
Yeah. Well, it's kinda hard to think about, like, they're not vampires aren't bad, but they're not gonna have empathy and basic, I don't know, like
Humanity.
yeah, their humanity is gonna be different, like
It's not total Vampire Diaries
yeah, it's not as bad as Vampire
humanity
Diaries where
off.
they're just unhinged, they're taking care of their needs and looking out for themselves,
Mhm.
like, it's a very different understanding, I
It's like
guess.
what thrills them changes from, like, blood and sex to, like, moving up in the world and wealth and politics,
Yeah, it definitely helps them to get established since they'll be around for a long, long time.
which is important. I mean, there's other series that we've talked about where it's like they have to have all this money because, I mean, they're literally gonna how long are they gonna live, you know?
Yeah,
It's, like, it's you can be broke in your 20s and then you're gonna die eventually, but, like, if you're gonna be around for thousands of years,
what a mess. Well, like we talked about when we were discussing Discovery of Witches, like, that vampire society, they
that's
kind
what I
of
think that's what I was trying to think of.
yeah, they make it like a family, so,
Mhm.
like, it gives them reason to, like, build their wealth, pool their wealth. This is similar in that they call the vampires they make their children, but also their children almost kinda pay them a tithe,
Mhm.
so, like, incentivizes the vampires to
It's like an
continue
MLM.
yeah, like, well, it incentivizes them to continue to take care of their children,
Mhm.
to basically raise them right and, like, teach them, I don't know, great business in politics
Mhm.
because they're almost getting paid for it. So, like, you continue to build your wealth and, like, your web sounds bad, but, like
Your pyramid.
well, so our MMC Darius, being that he is an elder, he's going to feed before he and Reagan start on investigating, but naturally he should be fine because they don't have to feed very often, but she's going to bring out some unexpected
Mm.
hunger and lust in him.
Reagan and Darius go to a secret area of the vampires. This is where it just gets fucking silly. Within the realm to investigate a theft. Reagan doesn't know where they're going or what's being guarded, again, because she didn't make the deal to bond with the vampire, so they can't give her all the information. But she's just keeping an eye out for anything unusual.
Because she is very adept at paying attention to the details.
I am not.
Along the path, she and Darius discover that vampire sentries are missing from their posts.
They also note spent spell casings in the area.
When they approach a second sentry location, they discover they
Do we have a lisp today?
what's happening? When they approach a second sentry location, they discover a sentry suspended in
So
a
many
dangerous
S's.
Did you understand what I said?
Yeah, it's just so many S's.
It's a mouthful. Well, they discover that a sentry is suspended in a dangerous spell, and they almost walk into another spell that was laid as a trap for them. Reagan attempts to break the trap spell, the spell that's a trap, so that they can investigate what happened to this sentry. But the spell is stronger than she anticipated, and it causes her to black out.
And Reagan was trying to hide her magic from
If
Darius.
she had just shown her magic, she probably could have handled this easily, but she was trying to be covert, like, "Oh, I'm using a spell casing and doing." He's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Don't worry about
She's
it."
oh yeah, she's like she'll throw spells to cover up that she's actually using her own magic, but they're just empty shells.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, it's a spell my cousin made." And they're like, "What?" She's like, "It's legal. Don't worry about it." Like, what? Darius ends up having to save Reagan, and he breaks the vampire's secret and takes her inside this paddock to discover unicorns.
Apparently, unicorn blood is the secret part of the drink used to help turn new vampires. A side effect of unicorn blood is high, like better than heroin. So the unicorns are hidden and protected by the vampires. Most vampires don't even know that the unicorns exist or like this is what's being used to turn. So the question is, how did someone discover the secret and why would they be stealing the unicorn blood? I wonder why it's not unihorn. It doesn't matter.
I feel like she asks that at some point. She's like, "They just have one horn." Like, what?
Yeah.
This is a fun scene because I think this is the first time that, like, they make out because Reagan being saved by the unicorn blood is high and like, "Ooh,
Mhm.
who is this sexy man?" Like, it gets real dirty real fast, and then she's like, "Whoa, what are we doing here?" After this experience, Reagan and Darius head back to the brink to get more spells, and they need to replace Reagan's magical sword because she just broke it trying to break that trap.
Reagan has been getting cheap spells since she's broke, but Darius has all this money and access to powerful mages with amazing spells. And this is how we meet Callie and Dizzy Banks, a dual mage pair in their 50s.
Dual mage pairs are rare because their magic has to match equally and they work kind of like a yin and a yang. It's like when you meet the characters, Callie is very like, she's very stubborn and kind of like not just bullheaded. Like she just,
Mhm.
nothing intimidates her. And she's very much like, I'll do what I want. She also always walks around in like velour tracksuits that
Yes.
have words on
Oh
the
my
butt.
God. I
And you're like,
forgot
why does her
about
butt say juicy? Like, you're too old to be wearing
that.
that.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
so funny.
her husband is
It's like
Desmond.
those little details that make it
Yeah.
so funny.
And because it's like you'll be in a really serious scene, and then suddenly, like, Reagan will look up and she'll be like, is that the dual mage pair? What are they doing over there?" And they have on, like, night vision goggles, and Callie's in some, like, neon colored tracksuit. And she's like, "Why are you here?" Her husband, Callie's husband, is Desmond, and they call him Dizzy for short. And he's like it's like good cop, not bad cop, but, like, when Callie will get on to him and start ranting about something, he starts yelling back because he doesn't know what to do. He's like, "I don't know. Why are you picking on this?" Like, they're just the funniest pair to sit back and watch. But Callie and Dizzy have been supplying spells to the vampires for a while because they're very, very good with their magic and they've made a real big business out of it. Callie has also made a crap ton of money with skincare products.
And she helps Reagan get her eyebrows back.
Yes.
Then we learn that she was once BFFs with Reagan's mother. They lost contact as Reagan got older, and her mother tried to keep her hidden.
The chance meeting with the Banks, again, this is Callie and Dizzy Banks, will give Reagan a sense of family that she's been missing for a long time, and it's going to help her learn more about her magic. The Banks will also begin helping Reagan and Darius with aspects of their investigation.
The investigation into the theft of unicorn blood, it also brings the group back to that mage that Reagan accidentally killed in the beginning of the book. A group of witches turned mages have been summoning demons and secretly using unicorn blood to help them power up into mages.
I mean, it's working, but like, y'all are going to have to keep this up somehow. Reagan is hesitant to deal with the demons because she doesn't want anything to get back to her father.
Right, because they are summoning demons, the witches that are turning themselves into mages. So she kind of doesn't want anything to do with it. But the leader of this mage group pushes Reagan to reveal her power in this big showdown where we also meet Penny, a natural mage new to her power in the FMC for books 4 through 6.
Penny is such a funny character.
She's very funny.
She is. So there's
A
certain things.
different kind of funny.
Yeah, there's certain things that are kind of silly about her, and then the way that Reagan and Penny interact is just
Hmm.
so funny because Reagan loves to push all of Penny's buttons.
Well, and Penny's mother will get on your fucking nerves
Mhm.
in the beginning, in
Yeah,
the middle, and the end.
yeah, but then it all kind of like really pushes Penny, which
Yeah.
turns out to be hilarious, but also it's just her magic and her way of like handling things in life just make her entertaining. The demon that Reagan thinks she kills at this showdown actually survives and causes rumblings in the underworld of a potential heir in the brink.
As the series continues, Reagan, with the help of Darius and many others, will need to confront her heritage and develop her magic.
She and Darius travel to the underworld to kill the demon before it can report back to her father, but word will still get back to Lucifer of their visit. They will also tip the political scales in the realm.
Well, there's been unrest with the elves' leadership for a long time, and Vlad has been planning a rebellion, hoping to get Lucifer's help because Lucifer also hates the elves.
I just
Everyone kind of hates the
It's
elves.
so fun because there's so many levels to this story. Like you have your overlying like storyline
Hmm.
of Reagan hiding from her father and then what happens when he's going to find out who she is, but the political unrest, the characters we meet will be real turning points for where the world is going to go. Like you said in books 4 through 6, aka the Magical Mayhem trilogy, we learn more about our natural mage, Penny, and we meet her dual mage partner, Emery, as they take on the Mages Guild.
And Penny she is sheltered. She is a sheltered 24-year-old with an overprotective mother who she signs up for a magical Penny, not her mother, signs up for a magical retreat, and she ends up unintentionally helping a coven create zombies.
Yep.
And that's when she meets Reagan, and that's when she learns what she is, because her mother's been keeping a lot from her.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how much has been kept from Penny, and like Reagan or not, excuse me. Penny's mother is so overbearing that like she won't even let Penny cuss. So it's funny but also annoying that Penny has created her own like side language to not say curse words. And you get some stupid words like turds
We
wallop,
get
and
a lot of turds wallops.
it's funny, but then eventually like her partner Emery uses it as her nickname, and you're like, good grief. So like Penny is
I know that's
hilarious.
not what I want to be called by someone I'm having sex with.
Yeah, I don't need that to be my sexy nickname, please. That's like too
we
much.
love a good nickname, but
Penny's magic is wild. Like it's interesting again as the series progresses because her magic is natural. So like instead of creating spells and using spells that all other mages are using, hers functions differently, and she pulls elements out of the world around her. And so like it's really interesting
that's
to
a little, I hate to keep saying Discovery of Witches, but like the
yeah.
pulling of threads.
Well, because like yeah, Discovery of Witches, she's pulling the threads, and like in this series, you can see her finding the different elements, and like in her for her vision, she can literally see the elements in front of her, like as she's mixing them together and using them. She can also see magic and sense magic, which Reagan can do, but that's not a normal trait of magical people. So like,
oh yeah, she can like see traps, and like because you can like like she can see spells coming towards you.
she can like sense the essence of a spell. Like it's not just like, oh, there's something hidden over there. She's like, there's something dark and like really dangerous hidden over there.
Because I mean, it's been a while since I've read the Penny books. I'm just picturing this like giant field where they're throwing spells back and forth, and like she can see what's coming. So like if you can see what's coming, you can come up with a counter.
Yeah, you can find a way to prepare, and because she doesn't use standard spells, like she comes up with some really crazy aspects that like
Well, if you don't have that training and you have to improvise, it's kind of like
yeah,
she's MacGyvered these spells.
well, if you don't have like a rigid visual of how magic is supposed to work, you can be very creative because nobody's told you you can't do something. So she finds it's just they're very interesting books and very interesting addition to this series because she has such a different perspective on how she's doing things. And of course, she and the infamous rogue natural Emery will take on the Mage Guild and its corruption.
But why is Emery so infamous?
Emery
Is it just
was
the
once
elves?
well, Emery was once part of a natural mage, dual mage pair with his brother, and then his brother was killed by the guild. His brother was part of the guild, and then they turned on him. And so Emery kind of went on the run from them, but he also played a joke on the elves in the realm, and the elves don't think it's funny, so they want to kill him. So it's like
that's great. I forgot about that part.
Because the mage guild turned on his brother and he refused to work with these people, he's on the run, but he's also just trying to lay low because people aren't happy with him.
Like with all the books, it's just a good mix of humor and romance and world building and a lot of magic. And I just love the little details, like her and her BFF, Penny and her BFF, will go out and like correct grammar on posters and yard sale signs.
That's so
like
big
everyone
Friday
just
night.
has like all these characters are just so developed. Like I just feel like I know them. Like it's all these little details that don't really matter or even add to the story, but it just has created such an intricate world.
Because they're unique details, it makes it more believable. You know, like everybody is not the same. We might have similar interests, but like we all have our own quirky little traits. And it's fun that KF Breene has put enough thought into it that like each of our characters has something quirky and different about them, that it doesn't have to be something really big that stands out, but it's funny.
Well,
It's
and
just
I
another
love,
detail.
we've talked about Reagan and Penny. I just love their dynamic because it's mostly Reagan doing insane and chaotic shit and Penny like trying not to die of shock.
Penny does not adapt well. If something is just like,
No.
if you just throw something at her, she like panics and freaks out, which Reagan thinks is hilarious. So like whether it's like a really dire situation or just Reagan stirring up trouble for no reason, they get into so many skirmishes. I don't know how else to describe it because you're like, what is going on right now? It's so fun. And then Penny, after she meets Reagan, with the showdown with the other mage that was calling demons, she also meets Callie and Dizzy, and they agree to help train her as best they can because, again, her magic is a little different, but she's had no training at all so far. This is, this all is revealed and hinted at in other books. It's so much fun.
Well, then there's also in this book is when we meet the druid, right?
Um, which book is that in?
I think he's involved in that fight. I think he was sent to protect.
Oh, I think at first he was protecting Penny.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that because we meet Cahal.
And
He
I
is a
want, like,
druid.
I know this is a completed series, but KF, if you somehow hear this, please can we get a druid book?
Wait, he was originally hired to kill. I think he was actually hired to kill Raven, and then like
Reagan?
Reagan. Thank you.
I was like, who?
I think actually Cahal was hired to kill Reagan, but then once or Penny, one of the two, he was like hired to kill one of them, and then he sees how they function, and he changes his mind. He's like, "No, I'm not doing that," and then decides to help them instead.
And then he goes to the underworld
Yeah,
with them.
apparently Cahal was in the underworld centuries ago with the last heir of Lucifer, helping train him. So he is very familiar with the heirs of Lucifer. Just like one more thing, you're like, wow, where did that come from? It's just so. I keep saying it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. We
My
need to like thesaurus
other words.
interesting.
Yeah, but it's so interesting. In books 7 and 8, we meet Charity. She is a lost royal warrior fae. Of course, she doesn't know that yet. And then we meet who will become her partner, Devin, who is the East Coast alpha shifter, as they bring the fae back from hiatus to confront the elves.
And I really like Charity's story. The first book is Warrior Fae Trapped. And you don't have to read all the others to understand it. Like, there's obviously connections, and you should. But really, you could pick up Penny's story and just be like, who's this crazy bitch Reagan? Or you could pick up Charity's story, and it's like they're not standalone, but they're like their own little trilogies within this broader story. And Charity is from a bad part of Chicago called Chicago, but she lives with a rich roommate who invites her to a party, and it turns out to be a vampire changing party. And guess who's there?
Vlad.
Vlad. Charity escapes using magic she didn't even know she had, and Devin helps her escape. And isn't he the one that's like, don't drink?
Devin and his pack are actually there scoping out this vampire party because the shifters are always keeping an eye on the vampires. And of course, if there's any kind of turning party, they're trying to either stop it or kill the new vampires. So, like, his pack is already hovering. And Charity's going into this party and he's like, don't drink the Kool-Aid. She's like, what? What are you
But
talking
then she
about?
listens.
Um, I think she does. I think she might have a little bit, but because she's Fae, it doesn't really do anything to her.
And then I aren't all the people there like wealthy
Oh,
or
yeah, it's
important
like the
because they want the
who's who
vampires?
of the area, and so she's like has this moment of like, "I'm grateful to have been invited because it's like all these wealthy people from my college," and then things go real sideways.
Yeah, they're there to take out the newly turned vampires, but then naturally the pack has to take Charity in to protect her. So we get pack dynamics and drama. Then in the second book, they travel to the Fey world.
Yeah, naturally, Charity has to stay with Devin because
Mm-hmm.
her roommate gets turned and she can't just go
Because
home.
Vlad is looking for her.
Vlad is looking for her, and of course, her apartment is not safe because her roommate gets turned. I mean, obviously, she has to stay there. They have a lot of bonding and sexy
Mm-hmm.
moments.
But then there's also like jealousy because there's another shifter
Oh, there's another
involved.
girl that comes in who is hot, and she's like alpha. Like, she's like, whatever you
Mhm.
say, alpha. Charity's like, whoa, hold on a second. Who are you? Each of these characters that we're meeting, they have their own dynamics, and then it all plays into the bigger picture so well because they will carry the story to this eventual showdown for Reagan with the elves and Lucifer.
And after her time with Lucifer, the story culminates for all of our characters in a showdown between the elves, shifters, vampires, fae, mages, and all of the underworld to determine who will have power over the realm.
Each of the characters in the series, they are all really well developed. The world building is fantastic, and the characters, they're funny and entertaining, especially with the relationships they have to each other.
That's what I love. I love the dynamics, especially Reagan and Darius. Like, Reagan's impulsive audacity is offset by Darius's measured cunning. And the banter is so fun. There's the overall plot running through all the books, but each couple gets their own little side story and side quest. And the world building is a good it's a good balance of familiar mythos with these like supernatural characters that we've read so many books about. We've all read fae books and vampire books and shifter books, but it's presented in a new way. And then obviously Darius, who's like one of my top 5 book boyfriends. It's like there's something about he has the manners of a French nobleman with like the instincts of a predator, and there's something so sexy. But I guess it's kind of also like Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
Like, is there something
Especially a
so sexy about that?
French nobleman. Well, she also helps Darius to get his humanity back, which I don't think he even knew was possible. But with Reagan, it's just very different. He's evolving and he's like, I think I'm in love for the first time. Like,
Mm,
I love Darius because
I do
it just the
too.
way that he and Reagan like pick at each other. Like he anticipates Reagan's needs, but he also knows that she can't help herself from meddling or just trying to annoy him. Like I forgot one of the times he does something to meddle with her job, so she uses his money to buy a random island that he can't do
Yeah.
anything with. Like it's just like what? But it doesn't bother him. Like it's their camaraderie is fun. The spice is also really fun and sexy.
What
There's
would you put it out of 5 chili peppers?
the spice is dirty. I wouldn't mind if we got more,
Mhm.
like more
That's
detail
exact
for
like, I
some of it.
love what we got.
I think
It's
it's
never enough for
still
me.
probably a 3.5 to a 4.
Wow.
Well, you get details, but there's certain details I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't mind if you give me more
She
here.
saved all the details for another series that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, those details go on and on. So like I would still say 3.5 to 4. Like it
Mhm.
is fun and sexy. There's always something happening for our characters, so the books are hard to put down.
And speaking of spice, we're gonna continue our KF Breene Month next week with Ruin of Roses.
Thanks, y'all.